The evacuation sirens had long since fallen silent on Viridian 7, leaving behind only the whisper of ash-laden wind through the abandoned colony's skeletal structures. Asha moved through the ruins with practiced caution, her environmental suit's sensors painting the world in thermal gradients and radiation warnings. The Crythian invasion had been swift and merciless, leaving the human settlement a graveyard of shattered dreams and scorched earth. She wasn't supposed to be here. The last transport had departed 3 days ago, packed beyond capacity with refugees fleeing to the outer colonies. But Asha had volunteered to stay behind, part of a skeleton crew documenting what remained, searching for salvageable technology and, though no one said it aloud, looking for those who hadn't made it to the ships. The bioscanner in her glove chirped a faint life sign, barely registering. Asha's heart quickened. She changed direction, climbing over a collapsed wall that had once been someone's home. The signal grew stronger, leading her to what remained of the colony's xenobiology research center. Inside, emergency lighting still flickered weakly, powered by backup cells that wouldn't last much longer. Asha navigated through overturned equipment and scattered datapads until she reached the holding chambers. Most were empty, their occupants either released or deceased. But in the corner, in a reinforced pen designed for juvenile specimens, something moved. It was small, no larger than a Terran fox kit, with fur that shimmered between silver and blue depending on the angle of light. 4 legs, a long tail, and eyes. Those eyes were far too intelligent, far too aware. The creature looked up at Asha's approach, and made a sound that was heartbreakingly close to a human child's sob. "Oh no," Asha whispered, recognizing the species immediately. A Lixian cub. The Lixians were one of the galaxy's oldest sentient species, gentle philosophers and artists who had been all but wiped out in the Crythian expansion. To find one here, alone, abandoned. Her throat tightened. The cub pressed itself against the far corner of its enclosure, trembling. Its translator collar, still functional, crackled to life. "Everyone left me," the small voice said, distorted by tears and terror. "My keeper ran when the sky burned. The others in the cages, they stopped moving. Everyone left me." Asha's hands were already working on the enclosure's lock, her training screaming warnings she chose to ignore. Lixians were protected under 47 different galactic treaties. Taking one without proper authorization could mean imprisonment. But looking into those ancient, terrified eyes, she knew there was no choice to be made. The lock disengaged with a hiss. The cub didn't run. Instead, it stared at her with a mixture of hope and disbelief that cut straight through her chest. "I'm not going anywhere," Asha said softly, kneeling down and extending her hand slowly. "My name is Aisha. You're Milo, aren't you? I can see your designation on the collar." The cub Milo took a tentative step forward, then another. "The Crythians will come back," he whispered. "They always come back." "You should run. Everyone runs from me. I'm cursed. My colony died. My keeper abandoned me. Death follows." "Stop." Asha's voice was firm but gentle. She reached out carefully, letting Milo sniff her gloved hand. "You're not cursed. You're a survivor. And humans, we have a saying, we don't leave our people behind." "I'm not your people," Milo said. But he had moved closer, drawn by something in her voice, her presence. "You are now." Asha carefully scooped the small Lixian into her arms, and he didn't resist. He was lighter than she expected, fragile in a way that made her protective instincts flare with an intensity that surprised her. She could feel him trembling against her suit, could hear the rapid flutter of his multi-chambered heart through the fabric. "The transport is gone," Milo murmured against her shoulder. "We're trapped." "Not trapped. Delayed." Asha was already moving, heading toward the research center's communication array. "I've got a ship. Small, meant for short-range recon, but it'll get us to the jump point. From there, we can catch up with the convoy." "Why?" The question was so simple, so wounded. Why would you risk yourself? "Lixians we're reminders of what the Crythians destroyed. Most species avoid us now. We're bad luck. You're a child who needed help." Asha reached the communications panel and began entering override codes. "And I'm a human who doesn't believe in leaving children behind, regardless of species. It's not complicated, but it was in ways Milo couldn't yet understand." Asha had lost her own family to the Crythian advance 2 years ago. She understood what it meant to watch everything burn, to feel the weight of survival when others had fallen. She saw herself in this small, shivering creature, the same terror, the same desperate hope that anyone, would choose to stay. The console lit up, showing the location of her ship 3 kilometers northeast. But it also showed something else. Krithian scout ships entering orbit, beginning their patrol patterns. They had maybe an hour before the sweeps reached this sector. Milo had seen it too. "Leave me," he said quietly. "Take your ship and go. You can move faster without." Asha pulled him closer, feeling his words die against her shoulder. "I told you I'm not going anywhere." "Well, that's not entirely accurate. We're both going somewhere. Together." She locked the coordinates into her wrist-mounted navigation system. "Hold on tight, little one. This might get interesting." The journey through the ruins was harrowing. Twice they had to hide as Krithian drones swept overhead, their scanner beams cutting through the darkness like predatory searchlights. Asha kept Milo pressed against her chest, her hand over his translator collar to muffle any sound. She could feel his terror, the way his small body went rigid with each passing threat. But she could also feel something else building in him, a fragile, growing trust. When they finally reached her ship, a compact reconnaissance vessel barely large enough for two, Milo looked up at her with eyes that had seen too much, too young. "What if they follow us? What if I bring danger to your people?" Asha secured him into the co-pilot's seat, designed for human children but adequate for his size. She leaned down, bringing her faceplate close to his face. "Then we face it together. That's what humans do. We face the dark, and we don't face it alone." The engines hummed to life. Warning klaxons blared as Krithian scanners locked onto their position. Asha's hands flew across the controls, initiating launch sequences that would normally take 5 minutes, compressing them into 30 seconds. "Asha?" Milo's voice was small, scared, but there was something new in it, hope. "Yeah, kid. Thank you for not leaving me." She glanced over at him as the ship tore free from Viridian 7's gravity well, dodging weapons fire and threading through debris fields. In the chaos and danger, she smiled. "Thank you for trusting a crazy human who doesn't know when to quit." The ship bucked as a near miss rocked their shields. "Now let's go find the rest of the family." Behind them, Viridian 7 burned. Ahead of them, the stars opened wide, infinite, cold and full of possibility. And in the small cockpit of that racing ship, a human and a Lixian cub flew together into the unknown, bound by a simple promise that would echo through the years to come. "I'm not going anywhere." In a galaxy that had taught so many species to abandon hope, to run, to save themselves, first humanity remained stubbornly, defiantly different. They stayed, they fought. They held close those who needed holding. And in doing so, they reminded the universe what it meant to be truly sentient, not just to survive, but to choose, again and again, to care.